You all to know, my computer really did not want to stream today. It did not. Okay. I was setting up the stream today, and Streamlabs, okay, it's been doing well the last few times. It took me 5 times of restarting my computer because it kept freezing my computer when it loads in initially. And I had it. Okay, so I was like, I'm just gonna leave it open until we stream. I go to press the stream button, and it crashed. So if we go AFK or something, or we're gone, you know the reason. I don't know what it is about Streamlabs. I don't have any of these problems in OBS, but Streamlabs is a pain. But yes, we're gonna be doing our Christmas special. Nothing crazy. Not doing like any like focused videos. This will probably be one of the only streams that actually stays up on the channel because the other ones have been kind of video stuff. So of course I'm gonna take those down because then I'm gonna put them over there. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody in here. Hi Kara, how are you? Merry Christmas to you and to you as well, Maz. Good quote there. Good quote. Also, Matthew, we are going to face off in the championship, and unfortunately, you're going to lose. Okay, I'm trying to go back to back, and the Bengals. I know they're your guys, not no more. But yeah, I made 3 of my 5 fantasy teams that I made this year. Made the championship. 2 of them lost in heartbreaking fashion by less than 7 points. So fantasy football went good and bad, right? I had all 5 of my team make the playoffs. 2 of them got bumped because of like 5 points. James Conner getting injured really hurt, but yeah. You're a little choppy right now. I'll give you a shout if you freeze up. Thank you. Question, will wins be released in 2025? Answer, no. Yeah, it's not getting released in 2020. I mean, if we want to make it the earliest, 2026, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. We summer children can hope. Yes, we can. May the best man win. I'm just happy to be in here. That's right. Be happy that you got this far. This is the biggest league I've been in. I've learned a couple things. 16-man league. I really didn't preference quarterback. I've skated by at times, but man, Matthew Stafford's been letting me down. I'm off work until Saturday. Hopefully, I see Millie's doppelganger again and charm her up. You better, Maz. Or better yet, you send her my way, because we both know I'm the Millie lover here. But, if we're not down for long, what am I looking for? What's the words? Long distance relationship, then yeah, Maz, you gotta raise her up a little bit. Papa Goodell bringing Christmas cheer to the Texans, Ravens, Steelers, and Chiefs by injuring those players, having to play 3 games. Yeah, it is such a stupid idea. The fact that there's games on Christmas on a Wednesday or 2, what are we even on? Yeah, Wednesday. It's just kind of stupid to me, but whatever. I mean, it's gonna be entertaining to be able to watch the games, I guess, but I don't know. Good for me, though, is both me and Matthew. As of right now, unless Matthew does something crazy, we don't have any players playing tomorrow, so it's very stress-free. I'm prepping a steak right now. What season? Don't ask me about seasoning. I don't know. I can't cook. I helped my mom and dad make lasagna last night, and yeah. But I don't have any cooking skills of my own, so that's going to be for chat. Also, yeah, I'm not a Chiefs fan either, Matthew. Yeah, just, I don't live close to Kansas City, but like they're like almost the closest football team. Like everybody around here likes the Chiefs or the Packers. It's kind of the 2 teams around where I live. I'm just saying, all the Patriots fans, they used to be bandwagons. They sure left where I lived. That's all I got to say. I still wear my Patriots gear, but they're just not doing so good. We got a good quarterback, but yeah. Hope everyone gets lots of presents from Santa Claus. Hopefully, everybody gets some cool stuff. But Chiefs are for Swifties. It is known. I do like Taylor Swift though, so I don't like the Chiefs though. So I don't like Taylor Swift as like a person. Like I don't like, but I like her music. She's got a good voice. That's all I gotta say. Honey garlic sounds good. Honey garlic does sound good, I will say. Also, JC, I was watching your video today, and I know I already told you this, but man, no Quentin as one of your worst. You listed off 3 different categories that Quentin could have possibly been in, and Quentin wasn't in one of them. What a shame. What a shame. I'm with my shitty Bears till the unfortunate. I thought the Bears were going to be decent this year. Nope. Nope. They were not so good. Not so good. All I'm saying is Patriots quarterback Drake May better than Caleb Williams. Don't care. Don't care what anybody says. Way better. But you know. But as you guys are coming into the chat, if you guys have any questions you want me to answer, whether they're Song of Ice and Fire related, whether they're just random stuff, whatever. We're just doing a kind of a chill stream. I'm also gonna, take the time to announce something. If you guys did not see, Ricky put out, or Voice of Old Town put out a post yesterday on his community post. And we are going to be trying to do live shows at least once a month together. They will be on his channel because I wanted to give him some content on his channel just specifically because he's having, he's not uploading a lot because he's really busy with work and stuff. So, he'll have the streams, and then on my channel, I'm going to try to take maybe, one or two of the best segments of those streams and maybe make them to videos. But yeah, so get prepared for that. We don't really have a set schedule for those, but those will be probably like 2.5 hours, more like structured streams, not like these. Like these are very like, I don't really have anything prepared. I just kind of come in here and just see what you guys want to talk about or whatever. Where those will be more like maybe my video streams, where like I'm talking about a video topic that eventually I'm going to put on YouTube. It'll be much more like, okay, this stream we're going to talk about George R. R. Martin and the Winds of Winter Progress. We're going to talk about the Duncan Eggs stuff. We're going to talk about I don't know, House of the Dragon, whatever. Or we're going to talk about best theories in the community or whatever. Hi, Crab. How are you? How are you? Also, Crab be going ham on the defending side of this channel on Twitter. Twitter's become a place I don't like. Well, it's always a place I don't like, but it's become more of a place I don't like. It's everything wrong with humanity is what's on Twitter. That's all I got to say. I think it's just because we spend so much time with Daenerys than Quentin, but Quentin is a close second on least interesting POV. That's fair. See, I do get your sentiment, right? And this is why I think a video would be great, is that I really like Daenerys in the first book specifically, JC, because although she is an Essos, her plot is very much tied to a Game of Thrones. Like there's multiple times where what's happening in Daenerys's plot is very relevant to what's happening in King's Landing and the Game of Thrones plot, right? Ned and Robert having this big kind of breakup in the middle of that book because of Robert wanting to kill Daenerys and her child and all this stuff. So I really think book 1 is her strongest book because of those reasons. And like book 2 is, I think, to me, the biggest like thing of what you're talking about, why you don't like Daenerys, is because in book 2, she's so far away from any type of plot that's going on in the normal story. And especially when you have such a big focus, on characters, like Arya, like Tyrion, like Catelyn. When you go to Daenerys, and no, she only has 5 chapters in that book, so she's not a big part of A Clash of Kings. But in that book, it's, the first, couple chapters, really, there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of focus to Daenerys' arc. She's trying to find some way to, get to Westeros or getting some sort of support. She's not being able to find those things. And Karth, I just don't find as that interesting of a place in terms of other places in Essos, like Meereen, like Asshai, like Braavos. I think there's just much more interesting places in Essos. So it's a combination of, in book 2, Daenerys has, I think, her weakest supporting cast, right? Where book 1, she has a fantastic supporting cast. She has her brother Viserys, Jorah. You have Illyrio at the beginning. You have Khal Drogo, Mirri Maz Duur. She has a fantastic crew in the first book. And the third book kind of picks that back up, right? You start having more interesting characters again. But book 2, it's a lot of just Daenerys is almost by herself. And then you also have her plot's not that interesting in that book. And neither is, some of the other settings there as well. So book 2 to me is at the height of why I think people wouldn't like Daenerys, because she's completely disconnected from the rest of the story outside of the House of the Undying, where she's seeing visions of things to occur later on in the story. But outside of that, very disconnected from the story. Not great in her own right. Like her own story isn't that great either. And then book 3, it's like, it's kind of building it back up, right? Because now you do have, as Daenerys starts to get the Unsullied, she becomes more of a threat to, is she going to cross to Westeros? Is she going to come over, by the end of this book, or, invading in book 4 or 5? And I think her surrounding cast gets more interesting as you have, Barristan as well, and the Jorah reveal stuff that's going on. You have characters like Dario that are coming into the story. There's just a lot more supporting cast growth in book 3 that helps her. The setting is better. Her plot is better. And then book 5 is like, okay, if you don't really like the politics of Meereen, if you don't like this disconnected story from everybody else, you're not gonna like Daenerys that much. And I think her romance arcs of book 5 is probably her weakest part of book 5. But yeah, I do think JC, it is an interesting like argument because I feel like there's a lot of people that really really love Daenerys or really don't like Daenerys that much. I'm one of those people that's kind of in the middle. I think at her highest she's fantastic, and I think at her lowest she's very low. So yeah, I'm a bit of a Swiftie too. We love to see that, Maz. We love to see that. The Mad King has entered the chat. It is true. The Mad King, Christmas is his favorite holiday. That's not true at all. I feel okay. So I would say Eris's favorite holiday would be 4th of July. You got a lot of fireworks. It's hot outside. I feel like he would appreciate a good 4th of July. Matthew, I did not know that in terms of the Rhaenyra stuff coming out. Yes, so Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has been pushed back, Kara. It's looking at like we're probably going to see it more towards the fall now, which, it sucks that we're not going to get it early on in the year, or at least in the middle part of the year. But hey, I think for one, it's HBO probably with their marketing. They have The Last of Us coming out. This is what I think Ricky kind of inferred to me. He knows more about some of this stuff, but HBO, it might be more of an HBO thing pushing it back than it is actually production and I shouldn't say production, post-production, all that stuff. But I think it's just good just in terms of, hey, it gives them more time if they need to polish anything up, build up the hype again. It's crazy to me to think that, House of the Dragon, it just finished. It's only been a couple of months since it finished, and it feels like forever ago. So, I'm not too upset by it or anything. It's just, I think it's like, man, I was looking forward to it, but, gonna have to wait a little bit longer, which is okay. Everyone over this Christmas and winter stay warm. Starks make a good wood alternative if you're struggling with a fireplace, No? Not a bad take. Yeah, so what I've been told or what I've seen is that I don't think it's a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms needing more time. It's more that HBO wants to space it out from its other shows. Hi Zeno, how are you? That's totally fair, man. I do agree. Clash is her weakest book. I'm just not I'm not either, right? I've talked about this a lot. Like when people ask me like history questions about Essos or some of the history of Essos, I just personally don't enjoy Essos as much as I do Westeros, and so I don't necessarily enjoy parts of it. Like I think Daenerys is one of the few POVs that does really well in Essos. Like I think Tyrion, his plot line gets worse when he goes to Essos. Quentin's plot is bad. I think Barristan's good in Meereen. He's solid. Victarion's solid when he gets over coming to Essos and stuff. But this is a meme that has started within my own like friend group, especially when we watch the shows. Meereen and Essos is where characters go to die, like where they become less interesting. And I mean, I feel like that almost holds up, but not as much. I'm kind of hyped for the Odyssey movie. Yeah, that should be really cool. I'm not a big Dany fan outside of the first book. Yeah, Matthew, that's kind of where I'm at. I'd say I'm a huge fan of her in book 1. I do really like her, also in book 3, but then book 2 and 5, I'm kind of, 2, I really don't like her, and book 5, I'm kind of like, she's all right. The North loves Christmas. It is known. Maegor bless the Christmas and everyone's wife. You're right. Eris would love New Year's as well. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that as well. Zaslav wants you to renew that Max subscription feed. That is true. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. but Dany's story sometimes feels like a spin-off story. Yeah, I almost think that Daenerys in a lot of ways could have just been completely cut from the main series and been given her own book. I don't know if that would have helped George in terms of the pacing and the writing of Daenerys' plotline, but I almost feel like outside of book one, like I feel like after book one, he easily could have made Daenerys into her own like book series alongside the main series, and I think it almost would have worked just as well, if not better. Exactly. By the way, the thing with Rhaenyra, this is the only problem that there is with Rhaenyra, in my opinion, with her being like having a sword and all this, is she can't just be a fighter that is able to actually stand up to competent swordsmen. If that happens, then you're breaking your own continuity, you're breaking lore, like you're breaking everything with this character because Rhaenyra is not somebody that was trained to fight. You can have a sword for all of the thematic reasons, right? All the themes with Rhaenyra's character and the things that she's trying to live up to, like Visenya in the past, that all makes sense, right? But if she comes out like this warrior, queen, I would expect her to die. Like if she ever gets into a sword fight, I'm gonna be like, hey, she should be dead instantly. So I don't know. Hi, Agor. How are you? It's actually a travesty that there's no like memes I can put, because I watched Quinn the GM post something about Bloodraven coming to your house or whatever, and I was gonna put something along the lines of like just an image of you of Agor on there, but um, I want her to get her butt back in Westeros, yeah, and that's one of those decisions that I think George is maybe like contemplating when he looks at Winds of Winter and he goes, if I had just made Daenerys come over at the end of Storm of Swords, could some things have been wrapped up much easier? And I think that is the case. If she had just come over at the end of Storm of Swords or began her journey to Westeros after Storm of Swords, it could have really helped, like, I think a lot of what is slowing down that plot. The Essos slot, can't speak. The Essos plot, along with, I think, the Bran plot, really are holding George back. And so I think if he had been able to maybe look back at those things, he might actually have rather changed Daenerys. And I know that it kind of goes against his themes of book 5 and book 4, to be honest, where he puts these characters in, a ruling situation where the first 3 books is not about ruling outside of maybe like book 1 kind of, and we see with like Robb, for instance, but it's putting our main characters where they have to make tough decisions. How do they govern, the realm or wherever they're at? Yeah, I don't know. I think that it would have helped him though. Have any goals or plans for 2025? So for the channel specifically, I want to. I don't know if I will be able to, but I want to get through A Clash of Kings on the reread. It only has 60 chapters, I think, and we're already on. Hold on, what episode are we on? Let me go back. I think we're on episode 11 or chapter 11. Or no, we're on chapter 13. So 47 chapters you would think to go. Should be able to get that as long as I don't miss a bunch of days for some unknown reason. But I want to get that done. I want to get this. A lot of this stuff was going to happen like early on so far on the channel, but Dance with Dragons, I want to get that retrospective done. I may plan on doing a Storm of Swords because I'm already doing my rereads of the first 2 books. So doing a retrospective for Storm of Swords could make sense, like closer to maybe the summer, just to space out those retrospectives a bit. And then, continue doing the 100 characters in A Song of Ice and Fire. That's not going to get done this year. It's probably not going to get done for a couple years, I would assume, just based on the fact that I only got through, like, I think maybe 10, and I started it. I don't remember exactly when I started, but it was earlier in the year. So again, that series is going to take a while. But yeah, and then just I don't know, just growing, getting better at editing, getting better at other stuff like that. Just growing in terms of just growth as a person and things like that. Outside of that though, I think those are kind of the main ones. Starting a show with Ricky and making those really good quality, or hopefully anyway, and just other collabs and things coming on. I'd love to be able to collab with somebody new in the community, just to keep growing that like, social network, I guess, in this community. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Also, no problem, Magor. Also, hi Ashley, how are you? I just hope Disney doesn't destroy more of Star Wars next year. I wish Star Wars would just move on. I wish Disney would just let go of Star Wars, and they're not going to because it makes them too much money. Say what you want about the success or failures of the show, they make too much money from Star Wars to give it up, which I think is unfortunate. I would love to see Star Wars be taken in a different direction because it feels like the Disney Star Wars has just been a failure at this point. But I don't know. Say what you want about the show, but Game of Thrones did give a reason for Dany to travel to Westeros. That is true. That is true. I think one of the problems with Daenerys' plotline, though, just ended up being that, again, it's the issue that George has is how do you get all these plot lines to be aligned? And they really, I think D&D really struggled with that. Rhaenyra said herself that she hasn't been trained to fight. Fine with her having a sword just in case, but she definitely shouldn't suddenly become a competent warrior. Agreed, Car. I am in the exact thought process of that as well. Watch the House of the Dragon writers make Rhaenyra misunderstood and a victim when Jace dies. I mean, again, JC, I think you know this. I have little hopes for House of the Dragon season 3. I even was like in my head basically last night. I couldn't sleep, and so I was kind of like, I have a House of the Dragon retrospective video I want to do by the very beginning of next year, and I was kind of mapping it out, and there's a lot of things like that where it's just in House of the Dragon, there's too many accidents. There's too many, that should be blamed on a character, but it's not. Or they make this action that seemed more direct in the book. They go, oh, well, this was actually why that happened, but in reality, it kind of damages the characters, not makes them better. Love to see that, Matthew. Hope you enjoy that. I'm good. There should be some art of the Golden Company chilling, and me and the other skulls could have some Christmas hats. That would be cool. That'd be cool. I will say one thing about the Song of Ice and Fire community. They do make good artwork. I think Lord of the Rings has the best community in terms of artwork, but Song of Ice and Fire is good as well. That's a good point, Ashley. That's something that I was thinking about too. When I was talking about her like wielding a sword, that's kind of what I thought. Just finished a Game of Thrones. It's Manus time for the crab. We love to see that. It's pointless to have the character carry a sword beyond trying to emphasize the girl boss angle. See, like the only angle that I think makes sense, Ashley, for her wielding a sword is she's trying to be someone like Visenya, someone that was feared and loved, and who was able to kind of rule through power. And Visenya had a lot of control over her life. She was somebody that took things into her own hands, for instance, and was very influential. And Rhaenyra, the problem that she's facing is that she doesn't feel like she has much control. Like she feels like, she's not viewed like somebody like Visenya. She's, viewed like a woman is in this world. So it's very, especially in the book, this is more me pulling from the book than it is the show, because the show is very conflicting on how they do certain things like that. But, she's very Cersei-esque, very Visenya-esque. And so that part of it makes some sense from okay, what does this symbolize, her carrying a sword? But it shouldn't go any further than that. Maybe by the time you finish rereading the books on the channel, George will finally have released Winds of Winter. Okay, let's do an estimate. So if I get through my rereading in the planned, okay, I upload every week a new reread, how long will it take me? So we just need to see chapter counts of A Song of Ice and Fire books. Let's find out. Still gonna take a while. So books. Oh wait, okay. Hold on. Book 2 has more chapters than I thought it did. I thought it just had like 60. It has 70. That feels wrong, but I guess that's right. That's what the wiki of Ice and Fire says. So 70 chapters. We're 13 in. It'll probably take so by the time the next Winds of Winter event happens, more than likely have Clash of Kings just done. Like, it'll just be done around before like Thanksgiving, that time. So then A Storm of Swords has 82 chapters. So that's going to take another probably good year and a half. So that'd be what? 2026. So that'd be all of 2026. And then be like middle of 2027. And then Feast is pretty short. Feast is only 46. So then that would be done beginning of 2028, probably. And then Dance has a lot again, like Game of Thrones. So my reread, let's say, it'll probably be done in the next 5-ish years. So around 2029. The book, I mean, that's not a terrible timeline for when it could come out. 2029. I could see that. That'd be very interesting. As I got done with the reread, it also came out. That would line up very nicely. All Disney had to do was adapt Legends. I know. That's all I had to do. But it wasn't even that hard, in my opinion. Like, you know, movies are pretty hard to do and things like that, and writing and all this stuff. But like, Star Wars, I feel like wasn't necessarily the hardest thing in the world. Like, it wasn't something that was that hard to do. Like, all you had to do was, and this is the other part that frustrates me so much, is like, okay, George Lucas literally had an outline for what he wanted the sequels to be about. They could have done that as well, but it's just pride, greed. It's Disney wanted to do their own thing and tell their own stories and all this other stupid stuff. But yeah, Grease is a hot D-doomer. Yeah, I think House of the Dragon just is not a good show anymore. I think it's a pretty mid product of season 2. Everything that's come out about the show, whether it be from HBO, you know, them basically sabotaging their own show, whether it's George R.R. Martin, whether it's this or that, whether it's only having 8 episodes in the next season, like, nothing gives me a sign to say, oh yes, the show is going to get better. Ryan Condal saying, oh yeah, this is gonna be the best season of the show, doesn't mean anything to me. The trust is completely gone, and so there's no indicators from me that I've seen so far that show, oh yeah, the show is gonna get much better in season 3. All those issues that you had in season 2, they're not gonna be as big of issues. And the other problem is, for me, characters like Alicent, Daemon, I'm missing a character. Who's another character they basically ruined? Alicent, Daemon. They didn't ruin Rhaenyra yet, but she's on that path. Like, she's already not the Rhaenyra of the book whatsoever. Like, not even close. So it's the problem of, okay, 2 characters you've already ruined. Like, Alicent and Daemon are beyond fixable now. They are done, right? Their characters do not function anymore. They are broken characters. And so it's like, okay, now that you know that information, how do, you know, season 3, 2 of the 3 main characters don't function, and one of them's on their way to not functioning. How does the season 3 be a good product? For me, right? For me personally, not for you guys, maybe, but for me, it can't work. The show's already failed before it's even started. That's why I was so pissed off at the end of season 2, because I realized my love of House of the Dragon was probably forever going to be gone. Like, that feeling I felt for early season 2 and season 1 is gone. So yeah. I agree, Ashley. I think it would make sense for ceremonial purposes and, you know, sitting on the throne and all that. So I agree. I love House of the Dragon season 2 or season 1. Season 2 was just meh, disappointing, disjointed, odd character. Exactly. Like, Kara, I feel like we have the same opinions a lot, because I feel like a lot of the times I just say I agree with you. But yeah, I really liked season 1. I think it had problems. There were problems there, which is why it wasn't like a 10 out of 10. I think I gave season 1 an 8 or a 9 out of 10 overall. But, you know, season 2, it just kind of fell apart. Was flipping through the World of Ice and Fire and reminded of how they massacred Daemon as a character with agency. Agreed. They completely butchered his character. Yeah, that's another good point, right? From a Game of Thrones, and this is the point. From a Game of Thrones in the show, because House of the Dragon is show canon, not book canon, and it ties itself to the show. There is a throne on Dragonstone in the show, so why isn't it being used? It's another weird thing to me. I agree. Stick to our original plan. Let Daemon cook. True. Unfortunately, the writers don't want to let him cook, but you know. Should Daemon have just ascended the throne? I used to say no, but I'm kind of reconsidering. In the show, he most definitely should have just taken the throne at this point. But I don't know about the book. I feel like the show gives zero consistency to her character. No, there's no consistency to Rhaenyra at all. Would you read George's non-Song of Ice and Fire books like Fever Dream or Armageddon Rag? I would consider it. My problem right now, JC, is just I feel like I don't have a lot of time to read in general. And so when I am able to read, a lot of the times it's for research purposes, for videos, trying to brainstorm ideas, because one of the best ways that I find that I come up with video ideas is just by simply reading the books, right? So like, or even watching the television show. But you know, when I don't have that on my mind, you know, or so maybe I'm reading something else. Like I have things already from last Christmas that I've gotten books that I want to read. I just haven't gotten to. So for instance, one of those is I got from my parents. There's a philosophy book based, you know, in the Game of Thrones world, more or less, and I want to read that. I just haven't gotten to it. So I would definitely consider it. It just have to be when I find time. George will be 81 in 2029, and hopefully he's still going strong. This is where I'm at though with Disney, like Star Wars, is I don't want them to even touch characters I like because I know they're just gonna ruin them. Like Darth Maul, let him die. Like don't bring him back for anything. He's perfect the way he is. Do not bring him in anything else. I do not want to see him anymore. Helena, that's another one. Helena also is a ruined character. Agreed, Kara. Also, Maz, you're making me so hungry. I have some lasagna that we're having for dinner. It's like my favorite. It's probably my favorite thing when my mom makes lasagna. And oh, I'm getting hungry. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, Ashley, the end of episode 7, which is still, I don't know how people view the end of episode 7 now, like when you've had more time to reflect on it, but when it was coming out, like I was getting crucified. I was getting crucified for my opinion and Ricky's opinion, I would say. JC, I think it was your opinion too about the ending of episode 7. I can't remember distinctively, but just like the episode 7's ending just didn't make any sense. It was like the way Ricky describes it is perfect in my opinion, of it being a very Marvel ending. It's like, oh, Rhaenyra is staring down Aemond, but yet she doesn't attack Aemond when she has how many dragons? Yes, they are fresh, new people with dragons. It does not matter. You have more dragons than Vhagar. Vhagar cannot fight off 6 dragons, or however many dragons she had at the time. He's also slower than you. So if he tries to run, you can still, like, we're not, dude, House of the Dragon season 2 pisses me off. House of the Dragon season 1 was, yeah, I agree, Adam. I think Viserys carried that, not carried that season. Alicent and Viserys are both fantastic in that season, outside like the very end for Alicent, but yeah, Mass. And part of that is like the show kind of got screwed up by HBO because it should have been 10 episodes. They should have been able to do that, but they didn't. And part of it is also the writing of how we would have even gotten to episode 10 was bad as well. That's fair, Eris. Fair is fair. Maybe that's why George is so mad. They screwed up Daemon. It could be. One of the biggest misconceptions people have of us is that we spend most of our time reading books. Most of it is actually spent on making YouTube videos. Yes. Like, in terms of the reread, I guess I would maybe say maybe not on that, because the reread for me is like, I read the chapter twice on the second time that I'm like rereading it, I'm taking my notes. And so I used to do this, and this used to take forever. It's why the rereads to me, I was always like, this is something that's like I'm very passionate about, because I'm still very passionate about it, but it's something that took so much time. It took so much time to read a page, type down what happens, what I think about it, and anything I want to say in that section of the video. And so that would take forever. And then, so now I've kind of gotten to a place where I like the way I'm doing it, because it's much faster, but it also still has the same like beats where I just take literally the text of it, copy the text of a page, copy it into ChatGPT and go, just bullet point this information. So I already have what happens in it. And like I reread it to make sure it's not bad, but like what happens in it. And then I can then type in that, okay, what do I want to say outside of like, what are my thoughts on things that are happening? So yeah, but for most videos, it's not. In most videos, it's, you know, editing or finding quotes or recording, whatever. No one can sit the Craster throne. It's too godly. I agree, Eris. I agree. They could have ganged up on Aemond and Vhagar and roasted them both. Agreed. Yeah, I didn't like episode 7's ending either, mainly because it's House of the Dragon once again trying to make Rhaenyra the hero when she's spending a bunch of people to their death. Yes, agreed. That's another thing, is like, I personally didn't love the execution of the Dragonseed stuff in terms of Rhaenyra just sending all these people out to slaughter. I didn't think that made much sense. But even like in terms of the show, it didn't play that moment as like this dark moment for Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra just got all these innocent people killed. And yes, did they accept becoming dragon seeds and the dangers that you know, had? It could kill them. At the same time, you're still sending a bunch of people out trying to claim one dragon. You know a lot of these people are going to die. And it's played up as almost this hero stuff, like JC talked about. Like, that happens, like, in the same, like, vein. Like, what are we talking about here? I don't know. Merry Christmas, Micah. How are you? Aemon is also attacking Aegon as small-brained. Eris pointed this out, and I agree. So the one thing I'll say about that in the show, though, is I feel like in the show they actually built up to that pretty well. Like, you could understand why Aemon does it. It might not make the most amount of sense just in general, but it's a little bit more of like Aemon's kind of emotions taking over than it is, I would say, like him thinking rationally, which I think actually, you know, worked better. Yeah, the fact that Viserys didn't get an Emmy is kind of crazy. Or Patty didn't get an Emmy, I should say. The blockade on King's Landing does not exist. Let's just put that. Let's just put that out there. That doesn't exist. I agree though. I agree, Matthew, on the best characters or strongest parts of season 2. Aegon the second carried season 2. Like, carried it. At least I would say the early parts of it, at least he was the standout, but they played the badass music for Rhaenyra when she sent them out to die. It is true. It is true. Rhaenyra also just says, figure it out and good luck. Yes, it is true. It is true. I don't know. I do find it ironic that, like, I feel like when the episodes were dropping, especially episode 7 and like 6, around that area, where, you know, me, JC, Ricky were like a little bit more critical. I would say not a little bit. I'd say we were a lot more critical of the show at that point than most other people in the community. And I'm just saying, sometimes we're right. Not all the time. Sometimes we're right. So it feels good. It does feel good. There's a little bit of my ego playing in. It felt good, but it felt good in terms of being right. It didn't feel good in terms of the show being bad. I don't know. Harold Westerling doesn't exist. He has been kidnapped by Bran and is now with Brynden Rivers. They knew that they had to get rid of Harold Westerling or else he would be fucking some stuff up. Sorry, Dakota, if you rewatch this. I apologize for my language. I apologize. All I gotta say. But yeah. Actually, Nettles on Sheepstealer would have been good for that because Nani Vagar couldn't have got them. True. Harold Westerling equals Cold Hands. I could see it. That's it. Bran just time traveled, got Harold Westerling, and was like, hey, you know all this Targaryen nonsense that's going on? Well, here's the thing. We're going to need you to help against the real threat of the others. And so he was like, okay, you know what? I'll stay here. I'll be this Cold Hands guy. Okay. I'm tired of, babysitting all these pompous Targaryens and all their scheming nonsense. And he pulled a Barristan, right? He just said, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something different. Okay. I'm going to get a new career choice. Yeah. And he found religion. He found the old gods specifically. This is my new canon theory. Harold Westerling got time traveled by Bran, and he is now Cold Hands helping Brynden. That's the new theory. Early Game of Thrones is a faithful adaptation of the books. There's a lack of Targaryen backstory that is found in a Game of Thrones, though, especially Robert's Rebellion. Yeah. The one thing I will say with, when we talk about faithful adaptations, I think this gets lost a lot of the times is because I think people will say, oh, you want everything from the book to be in the show or the movie. No, that's not what faithful adaptation means. Faithful adaptation means you're sticking to the mostly what the story is of the book, right? The main idea of the story, the main intention of the story. You're keeping to the themes of that story, and you're putting things or removing things that only help tell that story in a more natural way, right? Of taking a book to a movie or a show or whatever. And so I feel like so many people get lost in that. It's like, oh, people didn't like House of the Dragon because it wasn't accurate to the books at all. It's like, well, yeah, that's part of it. It wasn't accurate to the book at all. Season 2 was not accurate to Fire and Blood at all. But also part of it is, you're taking characters that also then don't work in your own show. You're not only changing everything from the book, you're not changing it for the better, you're changing it for the worse to fit your show that now doesn't work because of what you changed. So, the best example of adaptation, in my opinion, is the Lord of the Rings movies, right? I think I'd say the first movie and the second movie specifically do a really good job of adapting the source material. So, for instance, The Two Towers. The Two Towers is a book that is split up into two. The first half is the Merry Pippin and the Three Hunters plot, the Rohan plot. The second half plot is the Frodo Sam plot. And so, how do you do that, right? How do you make it to where all of these kind of plot lines now are going to be intermingled like they're a Song of Ice and Fire? And so you have to, okay, well, Helm's Deep is going to be obviously at the very end. It's the big battle. But you also then have to get through Sam and Frodo's plotline. And are you going to end that at the same spot? Because if you have them, fighting Shelob at the end of that book or at the end of the movie, it's going to make the pacing of the end part of that movie feel kind of weird because there's not any downtime. Because what the other plotlines do really well in Two Towers is they slow down the pace of Helm's